ever wish you could just like tweak your voice, you know, for like a big presentation or even just to try out a new persona?
Kind of a sci-fi concept.
Yeah, totally. But, well, it's actually becoming reality.
It is.
And it's bringing up some pretty interesting questions.
Huh.
So today we're going to deep dive into this company, Sunus.
Lanaz.
They are using AI to modify accents, like in real time.
Real time, yeah.
And they're mainly focused on call centers for now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious to hear like what you think about all this.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot to unpack, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So we got a bunch of research articles, even some like internal documents from Sunus.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's going to be pretty interesting.
That's exciting. I mean, applying like cutting edge AI
right
to something as like personal as our voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's big implications.
For sure. So give us the big picture then. What's going on here?
Okay, so imagine you're running a global call center.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got employees from all over the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're all going to have different accents.
Right.
And so Sonix comes in and they have this software that analyzes and modifies those accents.
Oh, wow.
Like subtly.
Interesting.
To make communicate like smoother.
Oh,
They're tapping into this huge market, right? For voice and speech recognition.
Oh, yeah.
And it's only getting bigger.
Oh, for sure. I feel like I've seen stats that say like it's going to be worth billions. Really.
Billions in the next few years, yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
So Census must be doing pretty well then if they're
doing very well. They've secured a lot of funding.
Oh, wow.
And they're working with a bunch of different companies already.
That's amazing.
Their goal is to expand beyond just call centers too.
Oh, really?
So they're looking at healthcare, retail. I mean, who knows?
That's a lot of ambition.
It is. But, it's tricky, right? Because it begs the question, are they really helping to create more inclusion?
Yeah.
Or could this technology actually, like, reinforce the biases that already exist?
Yeah. Big question.
Huge.
Okay, so that's kind of what we're here to look at. But before we get into that, let's learn a bit more about Sonus.
Okay.
Where did they come from?
Okay. So, their origin story.
Okay.
Pretty interesting. So it was a group of college students.
Okay.
And they had a friend who was working at a call center.
Okay, yeah.
And they saw firsthand
right.
all the challenges that their friend faced.
Because of their accent, I'm guessing?
Exactly. Even discrimination,
Yeah.
And so that sparked the idea to use AI to address this issue.
Wow. Okay. So they were like, they saw this problem and they were like, okay, how can we fix this?
Exactly.
With technology.
That's it.
Okay.
And they claim that by, making accents less of a barrier. They can, really create a more level playing field.
Yeah.
Reduce bias, improve customer interactions, all of that.
It sounds great in theory.
It does.
But I feel like it can't be that simple.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
There are. There are a lot of people pushing back.
Oh, okay.
Researchers, technologists, they're saying that. Real progress comes from embracing diversity.
Oh, okay.
Not erasing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, different accents are part of that.
Oh, right.
They're worried that modifying accents is just going to lead to everyone sounding the same.
Yeah, it's almost like that classic sci-fi thing where everyone becomes
homogenized.
Yeah, homogenized. But how does it even work? Is it like those those voice changer apps?
Yeah.
Where you end up sounding like,
like a robot?
Yeah.
No. It's much more sophisticated than that.
Okay.
It uses deep learning algorithms. And natural language processing.
Okay.
To analyze speech in real time.
Okay.
So it identifies the unique characteristics of someone's accent.
Yeah.
And then it subtly modifies those phonetic elements to align it with like.
So it doesn't completely change your voice. It just kind of like changes how you say certain words.
Precisely.
Oh, wow.
And Sonus claims that they can do all of this while preserving the speakers, individual identity and emotional tone. They don't want to turn everyone into robots.
Yeah.
They want to make the communication clear.
Right. Yeah. But is it really possible to just change how someone's accent sounds and not affect their sense of self?
It's a good question.
It seems like a really big claim.
It is. And that's kind of where the ethical debate gets really interesting.
Right.
Because, some would argue that accent is inherently tied to, you know, our identity, our culture, our background.
So to ask someone to change their accent is kind of like asking them to change a part of who they are.
Right. And that's a concern that a lot of researchers and ethicists have brought up.
Rightfully so, I think.
Hey.
It's a personal decision. There's no right or wrong answer.
Absolutely.
It feels like we're just like
yeah,
scratching the surface here, There's the technology, the business side of Sanus, and then, like we said, this whole ethical dimension to think about.
Lots to unpack.
Yeah, so where do we even go from here?
I think it's time to dig a little deeper into those ethical concerns.
Yeah, okay.
What are the consequences, positive and negative,
Yeah.
of a world where we can just, change our accents whenever we want?
Right, yeah.
What does that mean? For individuals, cultures, society as a whole.
It's interesting to think about, for sure. I'm curious, for anyone listening, what do you think about all this? Like, what would you do if you were faced with this technology?
Right.
Would you feel empowered to use it? Or would you feel pressured?
That's a great question.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yep.
As we unpack the ethics of accent modification.
Right after this.
Okay, so we've talked about Sonos, their tech, their ambitions. But like with any powerful tool, there's always the question of,
how it's used.
Right, exactly. And what impact it could have.
And with this, that's where it gets complicated. Accent modification might seem like a simple solution.
Yeah.
But it really touches on some really deeply rooted issues.
Yeah, like what?
Identity, bias, even the evolution of language.
Wow, okay. You mentioned before that some experts are concerned that this could actually reinforce existing biases.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. So think about it this way. We live in a world where certain accents are just associated with, negative stereotypes.
Right, yeah.
If a company like Sonos is successful in, making those accents less prominent, are they basically saying that those accents are problematic?
So instead of challenging the bias, we're kind of just like
adjusting to it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just individual perception, too.
Yeah.
Some researchers are saying that this type of technology could impact how we view language and diversity as a whole.
In what way?
So if the goal is to make everyone sound the same, are we losing something in the process? Accents are part of our culture, our history. They tell a story,
It's like saying your story isn't,
good enough.
Right. It needs to be edited.
Exactly. And then that raises the question about authenticity.
Yeah.
And, the right to express yourself.
Yeah.
In your own voice.
Okay. But what about the argument that Sonos is trying to, level the playing field?
Yeah.
That by reducing accent-based bias, it's creating more opportunities for people.
Sure. I mean, that's definitely what they're saying.
Right.
And it is true that a lot of people face challenges because of their accents.
Oh, yeah.
It affects job prospects, social interactions, even how seriously people take you.
So it's a real problem.
It is.
Yeah.
But is accent modification the answer? Some researchers think that a better approach is education and awareness. Challenge those biases head on.
Instead of changing how people speak, we should change how people...
Listen.
Yeah.
It's about understanding and accepting diversity.
That makes sense, but it's also a lot harder, right? And it's going to take a lot longer.
It will. Technology offers the quick fix, but it might not be addressing the real issue.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about the negative impacts, but are there any positives that could come out of this?
I mean, potentially, yeah. For some people who feel like their accent is holding them back, this could be, empowering.
Okay.
It could give them the confidence to communicate more effectively, pursue opportunities they wouldn't have before.
So it could be a tool for personal growth.
Possibly. And in some cases, it could be a safety measure, too.
Oh, okay. How so?
Think about emergency situations.
Right.
Where clear communication is super important.
Yeah.
Accent modification could help make sure that vital information is understood.
That's a good point. So it really depends on the context.
Yeah. I mean, the tech itself isn't good or bad.
Right.
It's how it's used and why.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we've covered a lot, from how the AI works to the bigger picture of, what it means for society.
Definitely.
But there's one more thing we need to talk about.
The business side of things.
Right. Sonos is a company. They need to make money.
And that leads to more questions, right?
Sure.
Is Sonos really doing this to make the world a better place? Or is it just about profit for them?
That's a great question. In the next part, we're going to look at Sonos's business strategy, their growth, their plans for the future. We'll see if their vision for the future matches what they say their mission is.
And we'll look at some of the criticisms they've been getting, especially around, focusing on profit over social impact.
Okay, stick with us. We'll be right back with the final part of our deep dive into the world of sonas and the future of accent modification. So we've looked at the tech behind sonas and the whole ethical debate around accent modification. But let's look at the company itself now. They've been kind of blowing up, right?
Yeah, they've been in the news a lot.
Growing super fast, and they've got some pretty big plans.
Huge plans. It's crazy.
What's really wild is just the scale of it, Yeah. They're not just trying to be a small player in the call center market. They want to change communication.
Across the board.
Yeah, across industries.
Healthcare, retail, even education.
It's a lot.
It is.
And they've got the money to do it, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, over $100 million in funding.
No, it's wild.
It's insane.
For real.
A growing team, new office in the Philippines. They're going all in.
Yeah, they're not messing around. That tells you something, right?
Right.
They really think this is going to be huge.
It makes you wonder, though, what does success even look like for them? Is it just about making tons of money and, dominating the market? Or do they really care about, their whole mission of making communication easier?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, they talk a big game about, inclusion.
Right.
Breaking down barriers. But at the end of the day, they're a business.
Yeah. They got to make money.
Exactly.
So it's almost like they're trying to do two things at once.
Yeah. It's like social impact versus profit.
And that's where the criticisms come in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people are saying that if they really cared about, reducing bias, they'd be putting more money into things like education.
Oh, okay. To change how people think about accents.
Exactly.
Rather than just trying to erase them with tech.
Yeah, it's are you treating the symptom or the actual problem?
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
It's tough.
It is.
No easy answers.
So Sonus is pushing the limits of what's possible with tech.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe creating some good opportunities.
But we don't know if it's actually going to lead to, a better future for everyone.
It kind of brings us back to what we've been talking about this whole time.
Right.
Is this a good thing?
Right.
Or are we just kind of
assimilating everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it giving people more power?
Or taking it away?
Wow.
It's heavy stuff.
It is. And I think it goes beyond just Sonus.
It totally does.
We should be asking these questions about any technology that's going to change how we communicate,
100%. Because at the end of the day, it's up to us what kind of future we want.
Right.
Do we want to use technology to erase our differences? To understand and appreciate them?
Yeah, I think that's something everyone needs to think about. It's about the choices we make.
Individually and as a society.
Yeah.
We need to be aware.
Right.
We need to challenge things. If we want tech to make the world a better place.
That's a great point to end on. And we hope you'll keep thinking about all of this as you see how technology is changing,
everything.
Our lives. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exploration of,
the big ideas.
Yeah, the big ideas shaping our world.